So early one Saturday morning, I'm driving through the gates of Jessup Prison. Why? Because I will go absolutely anywhere for the chance to perform. I had been invited to come and give an inspirational story to a group of inmates and also to teach a seminar on public speaking and storytelling. Now, I have some familiarity with criminals. I'm not just saying that because, yes, I've been to law school. I've worked a lot with law enforcement. In my current role at the Department of Defense, I work with agencies like the Secret Service, FBI, NCIS. Yes, they do exist. Don't ask them about the TV shows. But more importantly, I grew up around law enforcement. My dad was a forensic pathologist and medical examiner in Detroit. And I watched my dad testify in countless homicide cases. And in high school and college, I even worked for my dad at helping at crime scenes and autopsies. So I also worked in the prosecutor's office in Detroit. So I have seen what people can do to each other. And I've been there when families had to come and identify their loved ones. And so I never had a strong interest to get to understand the criminal mind or to hang out with criminals. But I'm also a storyteller. And as any of the performers here can tell you, and as any of their significant others will further attest, storytellers, we are up for any experience that will likely lead to a story. I know my audience. And I figured that spending a day inside a prison would be a great story. But once I got there, I realized I was probably not going to get the full prison experience I had been looking for. When I arrived, the guard did not direct me to the maximum security building with the high wall with the barbed wire and the gun towers. He instead directed me to the minimum security section where there are a bunch of modular buildings that look like they could be an elementary school or even a daycare center. Turns out I was not going to be performing in the yard, as part of me thought. I instead was going to be performing in a facility there that they have for inmates who have less than 3 years left on their sentences. They're housed they're separately from the rest of the general population. They're given opportunities for GED programs, vocational education, and some of them also do work release programs in the community. When I walked in, I encountered less security than at my public high school I went to. I walked through a metal detector, which I am pretty sure was not even plugged in. I asked the guard, I was like, do I need to take off my shoes? He looked at me, nah. I mean, you can if you want to. Like, I'm good, thank you. At the security desk, they issued me a visitor's badge, which I kid you not, was a piece of note card on which someone had written visitor in crayon. Okay, it wasn't actually crayon, it was green Sharpie, but I think we can all agree that green is the least serious Sharpie color available. And I'm looking at this thinking they must keep a tight control on office supplies here because I figured with a stack of note cards and a couple markers, half the guys here could just walk out of here tomorrow. And I look around, and at this point I look around at the inmates and I realize something other interesting about what they're wearing, or what I should say, what they're not wearing. Okay, I did not expect them to be dressed in classic Three Stooges, black and white striped uniforms, but there wasn't an orange jumpsuit anywhere. They were all in street clothes, jeans, sweats, and I suddenly realized that this homemade badge here might be the only thing separating me from accidental incarceration and a bit more of that full prison experience that I had been looking for. I go back to the security desk and I said, hey, just a quick question. If I lose this badge, how are you going to know to let me out at the end of the day? And the guard just looks me up and down, looking at my Dockers and my polo shirt, says, honey, I think I'll remember you. So I walk into the classroom And they have been waiting for me. They've written on the chalkboard, welcome, Mr. Zach. And the second I walk in the classroom, a bunch of guys immediately come up to me, hey, Mr. Zach, thanks for coming out. Oh, Mr. Zach, we're so glad you're here. And I appreciate the welcome, but I'm a little confused. And I asked one, I said, how did you recognize me? How did you know that I was Mr. Zach? And the guy gives me the same look that the woman at the desk did, which is, we don't get a lot of visitors here, sir. And that moment, I'm suddenly enveloped in a bear hug by the largest human being I have ever encountered in my life. And he grabs me and he looks down at me and says, we are so glad you're here. We're going to have our speech contest and we need you for it. And I look up at him and the first thought in my mind is, am I the prize? I don't know if he saw the terror in my eyes, or he quickly explains, no, we need you to judge the contest. Now, as reassured as I am not in danger of being exchanged for 2 cartons of Marlboro Reds, I quickly am a little bit concerned because now I have to decide between multiple inmates, many of whom that I've been talking to them, I realize have been in for a long time. Some of these guys have been in for over 20 years. Yeah, and I know from my experience that in most state systems, most inmates are eligible for parole after serving only 25% of their sentence. So if somebody has been in for 20 years or more, they have probably been convicted of something serious. But I also quickly realized that these guys have put a lot of time and effort into their speeches. Some of them are really good. One guy who had been in for 20 years gave a very self-effacing comparing his frequent failures to win parole to trying to leave a house party with an overzealous host. He said, I keep saying, hey, it's been great, but I want to get going. And he says, Maryland Department of Corrections keeps saying, no, stick around. Come on, just stay a few more years. You're the life of the party. Another guy who had been incarcerated since 1987 was now in a work release program, and he was excited to tell the other guys what it was like on the outside. He said, you don't understand. He's like, everybody's got phones, and cars got small, and stores got really big. He had been working at a local super Walmart, and he talked about his first day. He clocked out and had to get back to the prison to meet curfew, when he suddenly realized he didn't know how to get out of the Walmart. And he said, look, for all the years I've been inside, I never made a run at the fence. I never tried to escape. But I realized I'm going to be in a lot of trouble if I can't figure out how to break out of a Walmart. I was so impressed with these guys' stories because I can only imagine what they have endured and what they have gone through, and yet they were still willing there to be open and vulnerable and have such a great sense of humor. And that's why when it was my turn to speak, I felt like a complete idiot because I was there to inspire them and try and tell them about perseverance and determination and never giving up because I had completed a marathon in under 7 hours. I briefly thought about changing my speech a little bit, maybe focusing a little bit more on marathon training that they may not be familiar with. The importance of stretching after a run, why you might need something, water isn't sufficient, and of course, most importantly, critically, how to prevent bloody nipples. See people who've tried marathon running before, yeah? But I need not have worried. They were a great audience. They cheered at the right places. They laughed. More importantly, they laughed at the right places. They gave me a standing ovation at the end. And afterwards, I got to work with some of them one-on-one and helping them develop their stories and their ideas. And I enjoyed it so much that when they asked me if I'd be interested in coming back in a few weeks, I immediately said yes. And I came back a few weeks later, and then a few weeks later after that, and I kept coming back until I was rewarded with something I still treasure to this day. My very own visitor's badge, which not only has my name typed on it, it is also laminated and has one of those little metal clips attached. I had arrived. Thank you very much.